So to graph rational functions, we need to find a few things first. We need to find the vertical asymptotes, the horizontal asymptote, and then the domain and the range. So the vertical asymptote, just call that VA, this comes from the zeros of the denominator. So it's the zeros of the denominator. The horizontal asymptote, that comes from the number that's added or subtracted. Because normally the horizontal asymptote would be at 0, but then that minus 3 at the end moves it down 3 units. So the horizontal asymptote will be moved down 3 for this one. So it's added or subtracted at the end. The domain, remember domain and range, the domain is all the x values that you're allowed to plug into a function. So the domain is generally all the x values except for the vertical asymptote. So it's all real numbers except for the vertical asymptote. The range is kind of similar. It's all real numbers except for the horizontal asymptote. Okay, remember, range is all the y values, and domain is all the x values. Okay, so for this first one, let's identify all of these pieces, and then we'll graph it. So our vertical asymptote is the 0 of the denominator, so where x minus 2 equals 0. So if we solve that, add the 2, x is 2. The horizontal asymptote is going to be a y equals negative 3, whatever is added or subtracted after the fraction. Okay, then the domain is all the x's except x does not equal the vertical asymptote, so except x does not equal 2. The range is similar, all the y values, except y does not equal the horizontal asymptote of negative 3. So the horizontal and vertical asymptotes basically give you your domain and range. That's what's excluded. All right, so the first thing to graph these, you want to graph your horizontal and vertical asymptotes. So the vertical asymptote would be at x equals 2. Put a vertical dashed line, because it's not actually a part of the graph, it's just a guideline. Then the horizontal asymptote at y equals negative 3. So this is kind of like the center of the graph. So now we need to get a few points and get our graph. So to get our points, what I would do is plug in numbers that are right next to the vertical asymptote. So like I'm going to plug in 3, 4, and 5. So if I make a table, make a little XY table, if I plug those numbers in, we'll start with 3 and 4. So 3, plug in 3, you're going to get, kind of run out of room here. Let's just do it up here. So we have 1 over 3 minus 2 minus 3. So we simplify down here, so we have 1 over 3 minus 2 is 1. 1 over 1 is 1. 1 minus 3 is negative 2. So there's our table, or our value for that. So at 3, we're at negative 2. And if I go to 4, plug in 4, so I'm going to erase my 3 here and plug in a 4. So if I have 4 minus 2, 4 minus 2 is 2, so that's going to be 1/2 minus 3. So that's going to be negative 2.5. So I'm going to put that in my table. So that's just getting a little bit closer to the horizontal asymptote. And that's what's going to happen. The farther I go to the right, the closer it's going to get to the horizontal asymptote. And the farther I go to the left, it doesn't continue this way. What happens is it gets closer and closer to the vertical asymptote, like that. And then the same thing's going to happen on the opposite side. It's just going to reflect across. So if I put this dot here, and this dot will be there. So, whoops, kind of missed there. Looks a little better. You just make these little curves like that. So, yep, that's all we need to do. Just get your vertical asymptote, your horizontal asymptote, and then just a couple points to get your curve in the right spot. And they're always going to be opposite like that. Okay, so let's run through this one quick. We have our vertical asymptote. It's going to be the opposite of in the bottom, so x is equal to -2. The horizontal asymptote is going to be -1, and that's a y equals. The domain is going to be all real numbers except x does not equal -2, whatever your asymptote is. The range is going to be all real numbers except y does not equal -1. And then get those domains on there. So x equals -2, put your vertical dashed line. Y equals -1, put your horizontal dashed line. And then we're going to plug in whatever number is close to the vertical asymptote. So I'm going to plug in 1. So make a table. X equals 1, plug it in. So I have 3 over 1 plus 2 minus 1. So I just plugged in 1 for x. So this is going to be 3 over 3 minus 1. So this is 1 minus 1, so 0. So I can put that dot right where I had that circle, just happened to be. And then that point is going to reflect across here, and then I know that it's going to approach both of the asymptotes in either direction. So that's a quick rough sketch to the graph, and that's good enough. So finish the rest of those. The big idea is to get those things first: the vertical asymptote, horizontal asymptote, domain and range, and then pretty much just need 1 point to get a graph. All right, so if you have questions, please ask.